Do you guys offer dual diagnosis support?
So we offer dual diagnosis support because we're able to have the clients meet with a psych NP, and that psych NP is able to give diagnosis. The same with our LPC as well, our licensed practicing counselors. So they're able to meet with, diagnose, and prescribe medication through the psych NP. Um, and then with us, we don't manage clients' medication because we're not that level of care. So we do ask the clients, hey, how are you doing on your medication? You're staying consistent. Any obstacles? How can we assist you in being more consistent? Because you can't tell right away, but you can tell within a week or two if a client is slipping on their meds. Now, I will say we are a dual diagnosis within reason. We have taken people with severe diagnosis like schizophrenia. However, that's a little much. You know, we definitely have the staff, we definitely have the team, and we definitely have the capability. But having really more than one or two at any given time is a challenge uh, because it takes away from the other clients, because if they're going catatonic during group and they just lay down on the floor and they become an immovable object, like what are you going to do? But be there for them and not demonize them and be consistent. And um, we've had tremendous success. We've had people come in with like really crippling mental health diagnosis, and our NP and our staff met with them and said, you know what? Let's see how they do without drugs in their system. And our NP and our clinical team will meet and say, well, let's see how this client does with supervision, stabilization, and some physical distance between them and their last drug use. And what we found is those diagnoses weren't so accurate as they developed in their sobriety. And as their brain healed and their trauma was worked on, they're no different from any other person. It wasn't severe schizophrenia or bipolar 2. It was just a person who had problems that was related to trauma and drug addiction. And through the right care and guidance, they recovered. And I'm never going to tell somebody whether they should or shouldn't be on medication. I can only share my story of the many times I was diagnosed as a child with different mental health disorders, which diagnosing a child isn't really right because your brain isn't fully developed. So, how are you going to give me a diagnosis and put me on a medication that's going to mess with the neurochemicals in my brain and probably alter that growth, until there's a bigger issue? And then, even as I got older, any book will tell you, like any like psychiatry book will tell you in terms and like psychology book in terms of diagnosing people. If you're diagnosing them 6 months within 0 days to 6 months sober, the effects of coming out of addiction are very similar to the effects of mental health. So to get like a good, accurate diagnosis, someone needs to be sober for about a year. So get off, get off drugs, get balance, do what you're supposed to do. But in a year, you'll know what you're fighting in terms of mental health. And we're pretty good about that because we're able to keep people for longer than most places. People are able to figure out what works for them, what doesn't, get consistent.